Hi guys, Play It Full Tilt Street Rods again. Thanks for the great response on all of our other videos. We're going to do you another video. We're going to install one of our front end suspension kits in a 55 to 59 Chevy truck. So let's get to it. Here's the frame. We cleaned all the old garbage off, had it sandblasted. I got it sitting on my rack because I'm an old guy and I don't like bending over to jack stands to show what's what. So we cleaned the old tranny mounts out, sandblasted it all, and we'll get ready to put the new suspension in. We'll show you how it's done. First thing we did, as you can see, we got our frame level and we're going to mark our axle center line. What we came up with before we tore it all apart is we measured from the front tip of the frame back 28.5 inches. Make sure you check yours. It might not be the same. These frames are always a little bit different here and there. So like I told you in the last video, make sure you mark your axle center line before you do anything. These are the bump stops. If they're still on your frame, we just torched them off, throw them away. You don't need them. So that's it. Next step is take this cross member. This slides inside your frame rails, and it's going to bolt in where the old spring perch was. So take bolts, slap them through the hole, and bolt it in. I won't show you every bolt because you can probably grasp the idea from here. But I will tell you, once this is bolted in, what I normally do is I come in here and I weld this down here and I weld it all the way around just for a little bit more support. And I even normally take the bolts out, weld the holes up, grind them so it looks pretty. So just however you guys want to do it's fine. Okay, basically what this is something that we offer exclusively, I believe. This is just a front support to add some support when you take this out. Most of the other kits, you don't take this cross member out. You have to trim this all around here for rack clearance, and it's terrible, ugly looking. I mean, you got your cross members going to be sitting here. This is going to be all boxed. So with this and this, I get rid of all this, and it makes a world of difference on cleanliness. You'll love it. These are your core support brackets. They need to be removed so you can get to this rivet when you cut this cross member out here. So we're just going to take these off. Make sure you mark them. There is right and left, so make sure you mark them so you put them back in the same place. Okay, guys, what I normally do, just a little FYI, I take a piece of tubing and clamp it across the top side of your frame. This will help keep the top of the frame from folding in, possibly when you cut your center cross member out. We put the front brace in up there to keep the bottom. This is temporary to keep the top frame rails from maybe closing up on you a little bit. Once you get your cross member and everything, boxing plates, all that stuff welded in, take this off, you'll be good to go. Just for whatever you want to call it purposes, I measure the top frame rail. We got almost 29.5 inches. So when this is all said and done, we should end up with about the same 29.5 inches. We got our back support brace in. So now we're going to come up front here and we're going to scarf these rivets out. Take all the rivets out, pop them out. A lot of times with this cross member, the way they made it, you've got to come over here and you'll have to cut this thing in half to get it out of there. I'll show you a little of the scarf and the rivets. I won't show you how to do the whole thing because it's too time consuming, and we'll get back with you and we'll show you how to put the cross member in. Okay, so you can either cut these out with a torch, you can grind them off with your grinder or whatever you want to do. I prefer cutting them out with a torch because it's just easier. But when you cut them out with a torch, be careful. Try not to screw up your frame, start your frame off. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to cut off this extra piece of the flange here, and we're going to put our boxing plates in. So what these things do, they butt up against there. You take your level and you plumb it so that the boxing plate's straight up and down. Then you take your marker and you just mark a line like such. Then we're going to get out the torch and cut that off. Just a little FYI, these frames might be bent a little here, a little here. You might have to take a crescent wrench and straighten them up a little bit. And all these frames aren't perfect, so you might have to grind a little bit here or there. We'll show you how to do that in a minute. Next thing we want to do is just clean up our cuts and we'll put our boxing plate, make sure it's square up and down. We'll just show you a little bit of grinding. I know you guys know how to grind, so we'll just show you a little bit. Just so you guys know, we're promoting safety, so make sure you wear your safety glasses at all times when you're grinding so you don't get stuff in your eyes. So that's our safety tip for the day. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the boxing plate in. What you want the boxing plate to do is just split on the frame, top and bottom. You're going to have to do a little adjustment here and there, this and that. This is usually easier with two guys, so I'll take the clamp, we'll clamp it into place. What you normally do is you start at one end, put a tack, and tack your way. Same way along the bottom, tack your way in. You see that the Chevy frame's cut a little bit, so you can take your ice grips and just squeeze it over a little bit, or you can fill that gap if you want this perfectly square up and down. But you do want it at axle center line. You want it pretty close to square up and down so that your cross member and your hats will sit on and fit in real nice like. Next thing we're going to do is I got this where I want it. I got a little bit of lip hanging over here and a little bit hanging over here. We're going to put a little tack right here. Oh, that's much better. So I'm not going to show you the whole thing. I'll show you a time or two. Just keep rolling here, and we'll take this back. We'll squeeze this together. What you want to do is just kind of split the frame a little bit. So, and like I said, you might have to do a little grinding, a little adding here or there, but you can handle it. So we're going to tack this back here. We're going to go forward. I usually want about 4 inches here on my axle center line that's nice and straight up and down. And I usually take this up here and I usually bring them together just a little bit. I will come back in and fill because it has a wobble in it, but we'll tack this together, then we'll show you. For those of you who don't have a TIG welder, you can MIG weld these together. I prefer the TIG welder because it's nice and clean. So what we got, I can get my level out. We got this at our axle center line, pretty square. That's how we want it. We'll finish this side, we'll go over to this side, then we'll show you how to put the cross member in. Just wanted to show you, this frame's got a little kick down in it, so on and so forth. I won't make noise and everything because the producer guy's a sissy, but what we want to do is hammer that up so that we have the same seam all the way around. And we're hanging down just a little bit there, so we'll grind that little bit of edge off. We'll weld that whole thing in. We should be good to go. I'm not going to weld it in for you. I'm going to tack the other side, then we'll tack the cross member in. You guys know how to weld it all in, so we'll be back in a sec. Okay, what we didn't show you on the last side is I bevel these back on the frame, and I bevel these back on the boxing plate, so it gives you a little room for some extra metal to penetrate there. If you grind them nice and smooth, you lose a lot of the metal. That's why I heliarc them, is because I heliarc them and I leave the bead so it looks good when it's all painted. And just make sure you're plumb straight up and down at your axle center line. We'll get this one in and we'll show you how to put the cross member in. Sometimes when you get these in, you might have to trim a little bit off here to get your cross member to fit up in there. You can loosen these bolts just a little bit if you like. Let it spread out, slide it up in there, squeeze it. We're so close, I'm just gonna knock a little bit off there and slide it in there. We're gonna bring this up in. We brought our axle center line down the side of the frame. We've marked our center line on this. We're gonna line it up, pull it up against there, and we're gonna tack it in place. Then we'll put the upper hats on. We lined up our two axle center lines, cross member and the one we put on the frame. Just put a tack in there. We came down, made sure everything's nice and level. Same thing on the other side. There again, I'm not going to weld it all in, show you guys how I weld, because I think you know how to do it. So we'll put an upper hat or two on and show you how that goes. And we'll be out of here. As per my good buddy, my producer buddy, he says we should explain a little bit of this to you, how we weld them together. This is all welded together around here, ground smooth. We put a ring in there to keep your coil spring centered, shock hole, so on and so forth. So tall side, small side. The tall side goes in the front. This goes up against the frame. You want to come from the front face of your cross member out 1 3/4 inches and bring your 1 3/4 inch mark up. We came out 1 3/4 inches, brought it up. That's where the front nose of our upper hat goes. So we'll bring our upper hat right to the edge of that. What we want to do is take a torpedo level, and on the flat spot, here again, just level it out where it's level. Make sure your frame's level straight across, which ours is, and then we'll put a tack. Still good, so we'll put another little tack. Want to make sure these are pretty flat to your frame, because that's going to be all your weld support and so on and so forth, both sides. So, and see the little flat, there's a brake line right across here. This is flat where the holes are. That's where you want to put your torpedo level, so you know it's flat. Same thing on the other side. Make sure you're level across here. We're looking good. We're looking good on the outside here. Make sure this is level. There you go. Another little thing, your core support brackets that we cut off earlier. You can do one of two things. You can weld a bolt sticking up from underneath before you put your boxing plate on, or you can put them down in there like that. What I do is I just weld them on. And I also weld up all these little holes, make it all nice. Don't forget to put these back on. You'll have a hell of a time getting your radiator in if you do. Our kit comes with this little piece. You can put it in, you can leave it out. It's entirely up to you. What this piece does is it gets rid of this lip where the old steering box was. So what you want to do is you want to mark this, cut it out, and then weld this piece in. Just finishes it off, makes it look better. So that's about it, guys, other than welding the crap out of everything and make sure it's nice, plumb, square, so on and so forth. Weld her up, make sure it's good welds, make sure your buddy doesn't put it in backwards or something like that. So got any questions, give me a call. This is Clay at Full Tilt Street Rods. Thanks, man.